you guys, 5:30. We'll start the committee. Bob, you got those buy those police cars, those.
Eddie's here for John Groff.
License plate readers.
Some legislative requests, so I'll over to Eddie to explain.
I have 4 legislative requests for you guys. The first one is just to authorize network tax as the lead agency in moving behind the forward demolition grant program. They're going to act on behalf of all of the local municipalities who participate in that program. Not sure what that one in a nutshell. Just designated them as the lead agency in the program.
Should we comments on that? So Jeff, fine with you forward
to demolition grant program.
Okay, we talked about.
Yeah.
Blighted properties.
Aren't they having that fight in Johnstown right now? Or
If they let me know, I put it on there for
some rich guy owns a house.
Take care of you.
And the state's going to pay to
Proactive.
destroy it, through state funds, and or maybe it's in Utica, and they're all mad because the state's paying for it instead of that guy, and he's supposedly got all sorts of money.
That's what I did hear something like that.
Yeah, it was on the front page. Yeah.
The second item, request legislation to allow the mayor to prepare and submit an application, WC for paving and Stormwood Drive next year.
Jeff? Please? I guess.
We're out of paper.
The next request is to allow the mayor to enter into an agreement, a cooperative agreement
That's
with
one of those
Granville and Newark
things you just
on the 30th Street paving project.
because we can't do.
We can apply for those 30th Street funds for that project.
The Granville's doing it, right? The
Yeah,
application.
they're the lead on that.
Why is that?
Why is
Well,
Granville the lead on?
No part of 30th Street even comes close to Granville, just kind
I
of.
believe it's, since they were all being done at the same time, ODOT just combined all of them together in the same project, just to get a better cost on materials and the overall project.
Just looks odd, that's all.
The project's called 30th Street, but it's actually 30th Street in Heath, 30th Street in Newark up to Main Street. Then it's Main Street from 34th to where the railroad tracks used to be, where the bike path is now, past Kaufman. And then it's Cherry Valley Road from just north of the bridge all the way to 16. So that part of Cherry Valley Road's in Granville, part of the Cherry Valley Road's in Newark, and then all West Main Street's in Newark, and then part of 30th Street's in Newark, part of 30th Street's in Heath. And I did the plans for it, so that's how I know about it. But anyway, it's all one project, but it's called 30th Street for, I mean, you, instead of being 30th Street, West Main, Cherry Valley Road, have a long title, it's just, the main title is 30th Street. And it has a PID number and all that kind of stuff, but it's, so, you know, for short, it's the 30th Street project, but it's not all just 30th Street.
But as you described, we've got a sliver of this project is actually in Granville, that they're the lead.
Yeah.
It just kind of
Looks
Yeah.
awesome. Because they agreed that this would be their OPWC grant application, so they're in the lead.
And about 2 years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, that's about long started, that we would go together. And remember, I had questions of whether we'd get a good price or a bad price.
Yeah.
Based on that. And we still won't know until it's finally bid out whether it worked out going together or not. Their whole idea is the tonnage of asphalt, we get a lower price for tonnage of asphalt and all that kind of stuff. But until it bids, you won't know whether it worked out for us or not. Yes.
You never know at all whether it worked out. 'Cause you can't
You
do it
don't know
both
what the
ways.
The railroad crossing is getting repaired, not as part of that project, but as a separate project. I do not know as of right now whether it's gonna get, I thought it was gonna get done this year, anything. But then they talked about combining it with that project and doing it about the same time. I'd rather they do it now and get 30th Street repaired before the snow flies. And then next summer when this goes, we just match up to it.
Is there
But
any way we can prod them
No.
out?
no, because it's the guys, there's all these different people, and they have their own timetable, their own whatever and stuff, and it's like, they'll show up someday to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and you don't
So
go
it's
in that
already
way.
been bid, or?
Well, no, they didn't have plans, no, this project hasn't been bid, and the railroad hasn't been bid. The railroad they'll just do it. The railroad has a group that
Oh,
does
the
that.
railroad is one attached to do that.
Railroad has to do the railroad, and like I said, they'll just show up someday pretty much, and they'll be, they'll probably call us ahead of time, and say, hey, Monday we're starting or whatever, but that's about as soon as we'll know.
Well, somebody asked me, and I told them to call you. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll get done sometime between now and when that project gets finished.
Jeff? Okay, on that.
Now that I understand more about how Granville is the lead, yes.
All right, thank you guys.
So you
Yeah.
yeah.
Tim, there was a lady came in today, the water building window, was complaining about that railroad crossing on 30th Street, and she wanted to know whether it was city or railroad's problem.
Railroad problem.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you give her Tim's number?
It's like, it's
I
like
have actually suggested that she call Moorhead,
Yeah. Yeah, it's railroad.
but a lot of times, as an example, like on Irving Wick East and on Hopewell, where we had the railroad crossing, it was our street crossing their railroad as opposed to the other way around. And, a lot of these railroads have been around a long time. Now, I don't know about on 30th Street, whose was where first, but
It's their right of way. Their right of way actually goes through, and then 30th Street comes up to it. Kind of like, it's kind of like joint, but their lines go through. It's the railroad right of way.
Is the Thornwood Drive Railroad crossing as well being addressed, or
I don't know about that.
it too is in?
it's bad shape too. But that's another case where the railroad's responsible for it.
Yeah, you're not gonna they're gonna go at their pace.
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
That's like the one out there in Union Township on that road right out there. That was so terrible. Then they came along and I went down it one day and it was fixed. I couldn't believe it.
Chip, there's some railroad commission, okay, that somehow was funded through money I don't know how the money was funded, but anyway, it's not the railroad, okay, and it's not like ODOT, it's a separate little thing that got money somehow, and they're going around making sure all the railroads are like safe and stuff like that, and somehow they go into places like 30th Street's one, because we're going to put sidewalks up to it, and you can cross. It'll be so wheelchairs can go across the tracks like you can't now and stuff. And they've got so many around the state or whatever that they're going around and doing, and plus new gates and all that kind of stuff. And so they're coming in and fixing it. And it's not like railroad money. It's not tax money. It's some other kind of money that's doing so many of them. Now on Thornwood, there wouldn't be really pedestrians crossing and stuff there as much. Because you don't have the sidewalks and stuff, so that might be a different animal.
Plethora of 80,000-pound trucks
Yeah.
going over and just doing a lot of damage.
The final request that I have is to authorize the village of Greenville to submit the joint OPWC application for 30th Street.
else?
That's it. Okay, Bob, back to you.
Eddie, keep going if you want.
Hey Eddie, on these things, as they move through, is there any need to waive second readings or anything on all these, or are these not time sensitive?
I'm not aware of them being in a rush to track.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Alright, thanks.
Second thing on the agenda is buying paint thermoplastic. That's something the street department does every year. Thermoplastic we basically put on the stop bars, some other places where that stays on there for hopefully quite a while. And we're also paying the paint, and that's already in my budget for this year, so just wanted to let you know that takes up a lot of my budget, but we're purchasing that right now. We'll be up before winter gets here. Usually try to get it before school starts, because they've been doing a lot of patching, which is the next thing on the agenda, repairing Willow Ridge and Thornwood Drive. We're hoping to pave Willow Ridge next year. We're doing extensive repair work. We had talked about that here, maybe hiring Jokes to identify some of those areas. But I think what we're going to do is we're just going to do the repair work ourselves. We've identified the areas. As far as any new drainage or anything, I doubt if we do anything like that. I think we're just going to try to repair the bad spots so they don't come back up. And then have them repair. If we don't get them all done, that could be in the bid for next year. A couple of places they may have to come and repair before they can pay. But if we can get this all done, then we'll have enough money saved up that we can do Willow Ridge. And then with Thornwood Drive being paid, we're trying to do the same thing out there. Try to get those streets ready as good as we can to pave over. And most of these places, anytime you don't have curbs, gutters, you don't mill, so it'll be like an overlay, like an inch and a half or so overlay, or 2 inches overlay on top of the asphalt. So hopefully we can get some time out of that. But as we all know, we have to save almost 2 years to do one project anymore, which means if we don't continue to get this OWC money, OPWC money, and some of this other grant money, if it's all on us, then we're going to be so far behind paving it won't be done. So that's another vital reason for the income tax to continue our paving.
Yeah.
It is now.
I want to make sure everybody's understanding what Bob's saying here is that we have been planning for repaving of Willow Ridge next year when we have enough license plate tax money saved up in the 2 different funds in order to do that. If we are unsuccessful in the grant to OPWC to cover the match for Thornwood Drive, we're going to probably have to take that out of the license plate tax money. If we are unsuccessful, if Granville is unsuccessful as the lead on the 30th Street OPWC grant application, then our match would likely for that need to come out of the license plate tax fund too. So, you know, the paving of Willow Ridge is by no means a guaranteed thing for next year. If we don't have the money available to us to do the project, we can't. We can't do it. And if the income tax proposal does not pass, we are not able to put, you know, $1 million a year into the capital improvement fund, we're not going to have the money available to do paving projects across the city. If we're unsuccessful in getting these grants approved for our match on these, on just these, covering a match, we're going to have to take it out of the license plate tax fund, which will delay the paving in Willow Ridge, which is what we have targeted next. So I just want to make sure everybody's understanding. I know we've been talking about paving Willow Ridge now for about a year, and we're talking about using the license plate tax fund as the source of money to do it. But if these grant applications, either one of these are unsuccessful, we're going to have to take that money out of that license plate tax fund, which puts the paving of Willow Ridge in serious jeopardy for next year. And obviously, the income tax proposal passing really would be beneficial in helping to get not just this paving done that needs to be done, but other neighborhoods that need to be done as well, and done quickly. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as what Bob's talking about here, to make sure that everybody's crystal clear on that. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, Bob, go ahead.
So we're doing fair work there, and hopefully next year we can do those 2 streets will be paved. We'll do what we can to get those streets ready. I have number 4, future equipment needed. These are things that are getting old in the street department that we're definitely going to have to get in the future. The first one is the bucket truck. We did pass our inspection this year, but it is getting hard to get parts for that. A 50-foot aerial bucket truck approximately is between 120 and 150,000. And that's something we use a lot, trimming trees and working on street lights in the city. As long as we pass the inspections, we're still good to go. But like I said, the parts are getting harder and harder. There's going to be a time where we may not be able to get those parts for it, and we may not pass inspections. I think it's between 15 and 20.
That was my question. Could you read the ages of these 3 items and the
I don't have, well, the dump truck itself, there's probably, I don't have exact time. The bucket or the street sweeper is around 15 years old, and the bucket truck is about the same. And then the dump trucks and stuff are probably closer to 10, but they take more of a beating because of the snow removal and the salt. And it's a lot of replacement of the beds, and we're just having some difficulties with those. So the dump truck could be something that I would maybe ask for in 2013. Dump trucks now, I mean, we've leased some things, but if you want to buy those, they can be $90,000, $100,000 for a dump truck. A street sweeper is very expensive. We've had estimates $185,000 to $215,000 for a street sweeper. And street sweeper keeps the gutters clean. I mean, I hate, just like I go through Wedgewood sometimes to see how that's doing, and you see this little gravel collecting the gutters. And there's no way to keep that clean unless the resin goes out there and sweeps it up himself, which most of them will never do. And then that's where we used to take the street sweeper, so that stuff collects, and then it can also go into the catch basin. I'm sure Dick does. It can go into the catch basin.
We need to get Dick a push
Yeah.
button. Is that all we need to do?
For everybody.
If it means we don't spend 200 grand, yeah, I might do that.
We'll start with push brooms first.
Everybody in Willow Ridge.
That'd be a cheaper way, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just give everybody. That could be one of your slogans.
Yeah, there you go. A push broom in every pot.
So
We know that it's all needed, and the thing of it is, where do we come up with the money?
with capital improvements, I mean, lately we've already had $100,000 in capital improvements. It's going to be where eventually this stuff will break down and we won't have a bucket truck, and we're going to have to rent. We'll have to rent one or rely on somebody else to do it for us. And the plows we have to keep up, and the street sweeper. Maybe we get one, maybe we don't, but it does keep things cleaner, and those catch basins, storm sewers get plugged up, and it's a bigger job. So speaking of that, which is not right on there, but we've had trouble with a catch basin in front of Matthews Ford, and that's been plugging up, and my guys are saying, maybe it used to have some water there, but not to this extent where it's plugging up and going out on the road now, and having difficulty with, I don't know, we talked to ODOT about it, but I don't know if they're gonna do anything about it. Well, just like we get all the time, every time we do a project, someone says, it wasn't that way before you did the project, we get that every time. Well, we're kind of saying it this time. It wasn't
John
so
Groff
much.
talked to me a little bit about that. I'm not sure if you were there, but he was saying that when I came in this morning, we were talking about this. He was saying that actually drains to the north, which was a little surprising. They, and I believe he said, I'm not 100% sure on this, about 80 to 90% sure this is how he described it. He said that there's a dry well that it goes into that's north of where the backup is occurring, and that was there was some sediment in there which was cleaned out. It appears to be draining better now, but I don't know that that the situation has been 100% addressed, and so
Well, if it goes
it's something
into a
that's
dry
still an
well,
open item.
Yeah, if it goes into a dry well, that's not the greatest thing.
I think that was how John described it, but you might want to ask him this evening or something. Like I said, he mentioned that to me this morning when I came in. And I don't mean to sound like a broken record here, folks, but on item number 4, the bucket truck, the dump truck, this goes to the stuff that we're talking about the need for this income tax levy to pass and for us to be able to adequately fund again our capital improvements. If the trucks in the street department wear out and we don't have capital improvement funding to replace them, those are our snow plows in the winter. They carry the salt, they carry the brine water. If we don't have the equipment that we need to do that job, we're not going to be able to do that job as well as we have in the past. It's that simple. And these are the type of items that we have put off replacing in an effort for us to not, spend too much more capital improvement money than what we're putting into the fund every year. We have been depleting our carryover fund in the capital improvement fund, but obviously there's a finite amount of carryover in that fund, and the day of reckoning is coming where we're not going to have the money to make equipment replacements. It's coming very soon.
I've been here a long time, so 20 years ago, if you needed something, you had to come in and explain to council what you needed, and you had to justify it. And if you could justify it, they got it. But we always had the money to get what we wanted.
Well, the situation was completely different. When you've got
Well,
1,000 people working at Kaiser or 1,500 working at what was Rockwell, that's just that's just not going to be it's not the case now. It hasn't been the case for quite a while, and it's not going to be the case in the future. That's just not the way that manufacturing's done in this country anymore. You have productivity and efficiency. You don't need the workforce to produce a widget the way that you used to in the past. So,
Mayor, this is what I think has to be done, is that the people have to be explained that if it doesn't pass, here's what's going to happen. I'm sorry, but hey, take it like it is. We have to tell, this is the way it is, this is the way it's going to be. So please vote responsibly.
yeah, I'm not, we're not, this isn't, we're not trying to doom and gloom. We're just being honest and upfront, and that's the situation as it is. I don't think it's my job just to tell people what they want to hear. I think it's my job to tell people what they need to hear, including not just you in the room, but everybody, and that's that's what we're trying to do.
All right, so I just want to give you a heads up on that, but probably a new dump truck will be a capital 31st of 2013. Next thing on the agenda,
Trees on limits.
yeah, Doug received a complaint from, so I guess some residents, and if you're going, I guess it would be, I think, Grandview runs east and west. So if you would be going west towards Linville, that little section of Linville there.
That's Old Linville Road.
Yeah.
That's where it comes out to where my driveway is. It's Old Linville Road goes down and
Yeah.
comes to the
Yeah,
service station.
yeah, yeah.
And you want to look, and you're looking left, turn left onto Linville. There are trees there on the left-hand side. You have to go down that way. I don't know if you have, but you have to pull out pretty far in order to see traffic coming at you off of Linville.
Now, I apologize. Describe this area to me again, like I'm driving.
If you're driving west on Grandview,
Okay, I'm
and
with
come
you.
to that stop sign
Yes.
where the old greenhouse was
Yes.
there, okay?
Yes.
When you come to that stop sign right there, you have to pull out, like Bob's saying, there is a row of 6 or 8 trees that
I
are
think they're
planted.
crabs or
Up
something.
the
They're
hill?
crab apple. I don't know what they are. Crab
Uphill,
apple.
right? Because that
Up
comes
Up
downhill.
the hill.
Okay.
Up the hill.
All right.
And they are bushy enough right now, they've grown up enough to where you almost have to get out into Linville to see
Are they
oncoming
planted
traffic.
in the right of way, or are they?
Yeah.
They are
I
planted in
sent,
the right of way.
I called John. They went out and looked at it, and I'll just read this real quick. It's not very long. This letter, and this is a letter I haven't sent yet because I want to make sure this is what we want to do. This letter has been written in response to a complaint received by the city concerning trees that have been planted on your property within the right of way. The complaint informed the city that the trees, when pulled up to the stop bar on Grandview Avenue and looking south down Linville Road, are obstructing the view of motorists wanting to turn onto Linville Road from Grandview Avenue. Upon investigating the complaint, cities determined that the trees are obstructing the view of motorists and that the first 4 trees closest to the intersection must be removed in order to avoid penalty. Should the remaining trees in your property continue to present a hazard as determined by the street department, it may be necessary at a later date. Please remove the first 4 trees within 60 days of this letter. If you fail to remove the trees within specified, the city will remove them at their expense. So John has said that it has to be sent by the street department because it is in the right of way, and we do have the right to go in there and take those trees out if they don't do it within that period of time. Now, if council or someone wants to go down there and look at that to see if it's a necessary thing for sure before we send this out, then that would be great. You want to call me and let me know your thoughts on that? That's fine.
Have you seen it, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have
Would
to.
Keith, have you seen it too? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I mean, I've when the bridge was out, obviously I was going there quite a bit, and it didn't strike me as being an obstacle. Now, maybe I just sit in whatever vehicle I'm in, low or high or whatever. So I'm wondering, is it a situation where the trees have grown up, and if they were pruned from the bottom,
That's what I said.
would
Yeah.
that give you the clearance that you're looking for?
You'd have to go really high where you would have to take like 80% of the tree if you ask me to do it that way.
So it's more
It's an angle thing. I think
the
it's
bulk
kind of
of
an
the
angle.
limbs are
But
the obstructions, not just.
If and Bob, let me, if I could, the trees are not planted in a straight line this way. Those trees are planted kind of like on a slant, and they they have bushed out enough to where you have to get out there.
You have to go out there farther than what you probably should, and the people complaining must be Grandview.
They are
residents.
Grandview residents.
So we didn't see this on our own.
Nope.
It was residents who called Doug.
And it's more than one. The lady told me that the other people, and they said, please, they wanted to remain anonymous. And I said, fine.
Okay.
But we would check into it. That's when I called Bob,
Yeah.
and Bob saw it. And
And then I sent John out.
It's a problem.
I said it was difficult. It's not horrible, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
And so I sent John Eddie out, and they thought that.
And John or Eddie have verified that the trees that we're talking about are within our right of way.
Yes, we looked on the map, and it's also.
So we're within our authority to make that request. I guess all I'm trying to explore here is there any alternative to that request, or do they need to be removed in order for the obstruction to be clear? You think they do?
I do. I think they do.
Bob, you think they do?
I mean, I just think you have to trim up so high there wasn't hardly any tree left.
I just don't think
They're
you
not
can-
that big of trees to begin with. They're not, you know,
No, they're not. They're
Yeah.
probably
30-foot trees.
They're
not that
probably
big.
about maybe 5
But it's
inches
kind of the angle.
diameter.
It's kind of an obtuse angle when you get there and how the
Yeah.
road is that it just kind of blocks. You know, I mean, you have to pull out. If you're going to make a left-hand turn, you got to pull out the farther away.
Yeah. Jim,
Is this the Balo property?
pardon?
Balo, is this the?
No, this is
Further up?
his dad lives down the other end.
So it's not
I
the
wasn't
property
gonna say
right
the
on the
name
corner?
Until we decide what to do. I wasn't going to say the name
Stokes?
until we decide what to do.
Not the Stokes property.
No,
You didn't hear what I said.
It's the other end of Grandview.
it's on the other end of Grandview.
Have we had, has anybody had face-to-face contact with you?
Well, that was going to be my next question. Bob, has anybody talked with the property owner
No.
face to face
Knock
about
on the
it?
door and say, hello, did you plant these?
I don't think they did. Those people, I think, just acquired this property, I would say maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. They haven't been there as, they are not the people that have lived, you know, or had that house built or.
Yeah, that's irrelevant to the
I know,
to the
I know.
question. But
That might be a friendlier way though,
Just
to
a
knock
good
on the door
old-fashioned,
just
"Hey,
whether
guys,
it's an official
I
government
didn't know you. Are
letter.
you guys really in love with these crab apple trees out front? We didn't think so. We're gonna go ahead and remove them for you. I don't know, just
If
like
they don't
a
remove them, will we?
good old fashioned.
At their
Hello.
expense,
Yeah.
that's how we have it, but we always have to charge people to do
If
that.
they are in our right of way.
And we won't
why
remove the
would-
stumps or anything, we'll
we'd
just
be there
cut
at
them
that
out.
Tree.
Leave
If
the
it's on
stumps.
our right of way.
Maybe they didn't know what they didn't know when they bought the property. You know, it's one of those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Do we know, I can't remember the zoning on that side, cause they changed zoning out there, is that in our district now, that side? Cause you have the site distance across, in an R district, we have that site distance, even if it's not in the right of way, on their property, it's 25 feet each way on the corner. So, what you might wanna do is, if you're gonna send that letter, is send that information too, so they don't just pick the tree up and move it back onto their property and then still be in violation.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Anything. But they used to be trees there years ago, and then different people have lived there,
Yeah.
but they got cut down or moved or got old or
Used to
something,
be
and
a
then they
pine.
replanted new ones, and now they've grown up again and stuff like that.
Is it the property right there on the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be a pine
thought-
tree on that corner.
Yeah.
There. They cut that down because you couldn't see them when that pine
Yeah.
tree was there.
Okay.
But it's it's a thing like he said. You're at that angle trying to look, and if you put anything in a bunch of an angle, you can't see through them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they're straight line and you got a 90, you can see through the trees. But when
Yeah.
you put them right in the
You can stay back just a little bit, move forward just a little bit, and you'd see them because they were in a line. But if they're like that, yeah.
The lady, when
Yeah.
she called me, said that the vehicle she almost hit was a sheriff's cruiser. It was dark, it was
Uh-huh.
early in
And
the
they're
morning,
black,
and she
yeah.
was going, it was black. She said just at the last second, she saw his headlights, and that's when she stopped, or she was gonna have it. She said, I stopped, and that's when I started out and almost got him.
Well, I think certainly if the trees are in the right of way, then we're within our jurisdiction to ask for their removal. I like Jeff's idea as far as the tact, that you make that ask. Let's try to not just send a letter. Let's have a knock on a door and a face to face at least to let them know, and then we go from there.
And I will say this, that I can tell you that I've knocked on that door at least the minimum of probably 12 or 15 times, and I have never got anybody to come to the door.
On this
Never.
topic?
Is that right?
On
No,
that house.
On this topic?
That house.
No.
Just
Not on that subject,
on this
on
subject.
other things that,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was knocking on doors for.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I can just say is good luck, and I hope that, maybe
Well,
you
if
hit
we
it at
can't
the right
contact them,
time.
we'll just
so-
have to send a letter out, and I'm sure they'll contact us. So,
Okay.
we won't do anything without them contacting us unless they just absolutely don't care. Okay, alright, we'll do that. The last thing I have, other items, we're getting close to CDBG, signs, and they sent me, and these signs are gonna be big, real big. Some of them, the largest one is 78 inches long because of the requirements of a 6-inch capital letter and 4 inches after that. So, this is, now, if you go, though, it's amazing, if you go to, the new signs they have on 79. Some of them are 44 inches
What
long.
street is that, Bob? That's 6.5
Sergeant
feet.
Simpson, right out here. Sergeant Simpson Boulevard.
Okay, at least it's not in the middle
But some of the signs on
residential
79 are 44 inches long. And I'm thinking, man, we got 4-foot signs on 79. Well, go out there and look at them. They're on I think there's a 11-foot clearance from the ground to the bottom of the sign. There's 13-foot poles, I think. And they look proportionate to me, and they're 44 inches, because it's like those signs can't be that big. And Dave and I went out and measured them when we got this scope. We can't put signs up that big. Well, we went out there. I think they look okay, as far as their size goes for what we have to do.
You're talking about the street signs that are on 79 now in the
ones they
project
already
area?
put up. Which,
Yeah, they don't look massive.
no, but there are signs up there that are 40. I think the Overland Drive one is 44 inches long. And and a lot of the signs are 4 foot, and some of them are more than that. Now, some of them may have to have 2 posts on them. Now, I did hear today that from Susan that the post on 79, they're the square posts. They have to take all of them out, and they're going to be powder coated, which we talked about in the department head meeting today.
Yeah.
So those galvanized posts are going to be gone. They're going to be brown powder coated, and the ones with CDBG money will be brown powder coated also, and there will be that color of signs. And then with the CDBG money, it also includes replacing the overhead signs on State Route 79 that are green. I don't know if John's come in and told you that story or not. But Mayor John told that story.
6.5 feet.
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
No, he hadn't.
No, not that we're gonna pay to replace them.
Well, they're going to be in the
It's the CDBG.
Would our money be better spent not to replace them until they need to be replaced and use that money for something else? 'Cause I mean, I really don't care that they're green right now. Doesn't seem to make any difference since you got the brown ones on the sides. You know what I'm saying? I hate to spend money on replacing all those signs just for the sake of replacing because of the color of them. Spend the money somewhere else, and then down the road.
I think
when we
it's
need to
already a
replace
done
This is a
deal.
mandate. This is a
within
federal
day or
highway
two.
mandate.
No. What we're talking about here is that there were new street signs put up on the mast arms. I guess, Tim, we were going for a uniformity look here, and the CDBG money not being our money, as in out of the general fund. If we're gonna go for a uniformity look on what is the main drag of the city, that's the way to take care of it.
But is there enough that money to do all the city? We're doing all the city with that money, or we're just doing a portion?
A portion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we're just doing a portion, I'd rather do a bigger portion of side streets with that money than just change a green sign for a brown sign now. And then do the brown sign to green sign, a few years down the road or something,
Well, I
Change,
talked to, Craig and I were just talking one day. He asked me, how come the signs are green up above and they're brown on the side? He goes, that looks stupid. So his opinion is he'd like to have all the same color. That's his opinion. I know when this happened, the mayor was pretty adamant about you wanting brown signs, and I think John incorporated that into the CDBG money. And it's pretty much, we're very close for being a done deal.
Remember, the other thing too is Tim, we don't have the, what would Butch used to say, the sword of Damocles, I think as he would say, hanging over our head, as far as the federal mandate on the reflectivity. We're using this as a source of money to replace these, in some of the neighborhoods, but it's not as though now we have to do it all in, what were we looking at, a year or two? I think it's when it was originally mandated that they all needed to be switched out, something like that, I think. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Tim. I'm not saying that you don't have, you know, a point. I think you do, but like I said, I think what we were trying to do is have a uniform look.
At least in that section, and then we can take those down, and the material is what costs on signs, so we can take those down and keep them, and I hope that we could put a different color over top of those if we didn't use that metal.
But why would we? Wait a minute.
We'd have to
Where
take
would
those
we
signs-
use that a sign like that? Then?
On
On farther south on 79,
yeah,
or
yeah. If we have a
okay.
place
I mean,
to
yeah.
put
If I don't want
signs,
to throw them away.
yeah,
If-
we would have the material.
Just see whether we
You
could.
got to keep the blanks,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Not really, yeah, they're kind of blanks, but they have stuff on it. So
Okay.
I would
You-
hope
you
I would
may
cover that up.
Wait a minute.
Answered this before, and I don't remember. Why do we need the signs that are on the mast and the little ones beside the street boat?
That's how it was spec'd out.
That's where the state says
Really?
it's going to be.
There has to be.
If it were
four
me, I would
signs
just have the masthead
right.
ones. I think those are the ones that you look at, but
It was me.
we
But
don't
if you're
we don't
coming
control
up-
the regs.
Filton, if you're coming up Putnam, I guess are is all those overheads looking at you, whatever side street you're on, Radian Drive and all of them are all the same.
They all have signs on the mast arms.
It just seems redundant.
Oh, I know. I know.
But you're saying it was mandated.
I'm pretty sure that that's a reg.
What's gonna be really sad, where the federal government like to change their mind since they backed off this whole deal. They'll come back to it later and revamp it a little bit, and we'll have all these signs changed. Nobody said they want just a little bit bigger letters or something, just the way it's gonna
Just to mess with us.
be. Yeah, pretty much. Cursive.
I think some of the signs are a foot, they're a foot like that. But when you really look at them, they don't look that big when you're looking at them. I think having a taller pole.
Well, it's like a street light. When you stand
Yeah.
up next to a street
Oh,
light,
yeah.
it's big.
Yeah.
But when you see it, it doesn't look that big
Yeah.
when you're driving.
So I'm glad to get rid of the post. I'm happy as anything to get rid of the post. That was the first thing I wanted to do, was get rid of the post. So some of that stuff's starting to happen because I got tired of reading. Hard to read for me to read vertical. That's it. That's all I have. Unless somebody else has something.
Question. Bob, did anybody say anything about streetlights on Irving Way?
There was a,
Safety meeting the other night. That was something.
What about?
It's, between where Dr. Kruger's property is and Green Valley Drive. The possibility of.
Where's Green Valley Drive?
Right past Green, entrance
Yeah.
to Greenbrier.
I thought we were on 79.
No. This is a new topic. This is a new
I
topic.
mean, Dr. Kruger's house. Is that where we're talking?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant his office.
No.
His office. Okay.
On Irving Way, I'm sorry. But the people were talking about people that were walking and people that were riding bicycles.
Yeah, they've
which
been
they
complaining
need
about that for years. What do they want?
Some more lighting.
Well, we looked into that, and the answer was no. For the last administration you had, the answer was no.
Why
You
was
gotta-
the
you gotta
answer?
pay.
Because-
You gotta pay. You gotta pay for it.
you remember how much a light was? Was it like 10 grand or some crazy amount of money?
I heard it was
for
15.
For a street light, and we were just
There-
trying to line up 2 or 3 to
We had-
lighting.
Just to be frank, we had people come in complaining that the people who live on that Green Valley Drive, they didn't like them walking by their house.
Really?
And they were afraid they were gonna get broken into. That's what the last thing that I'd heard.
Wait, what now?
They didn't,
Who's they?
The people that
people
signed
who
that
live on
petition.
Irving Wick Drive did
Okay.
not like people walking by their house at night. A lot of those people,
They would walk by whether there's a street light there or not,
that's
right?
why they want more streetlights, because they don't like the people walking by their house at night.
Okay, now I'm on the side. Okay, I thought
They wanted more streetlights.
I thought you were saying that's why they didn't want it, because people wanted what?
But I.
Okay.
But I met a guy out there, we looked at it, and the determination was no. And it was because of cost and everything they had to do, and they had to run more electric and all this stuff. And you go down there, I mean, the lights are supposed to light the street. There's no sidewalk there. it's not a pedestrian way. I mean, if somebody chooses to walk, that's theirs, but they were worried about people breaking into houses and things like that instead of the other. That was a sense that happened 2 or 3 years ago.
Energy co-op would handle, those would be energy co-op
Yeah.
lines, right?
I
They
don't know,
would be
it
the
could be
ones
LRE, 'cause
responsible
a lot-
for,
lot
well,
of
that's
neighborhoods LRE.
that's energy co-op.
It's energy pro.
Okay, so, they would be the ones that we would need to talk to then, as far as what the cost is. I mean, and I'm not, you may very well be right, but
Yeah, we can
I'm,
do it
I'm
all
curious
over
to
again.
know what
but
the,
we
yeah.
did it a couple, 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh,
And I met
My
people
concern
On
called
the
is
south
about
side,
the
how
safety.
far do we own on the south side of Irving?
No,
Or is city?
On the south side,
the
it's
south side is strictly the
No,
condominiums.
that's Licking
What's that?
Township. That's
River
Licking-
Oaks condominiums is the only thing that protrudes at the south side of Irvingwood Drive on that stretch. That's Heath City and Lakewood School District.
And that is along the road where my mother-in-law whose property is, that is Licking Township.
Yeah.
That is not.
And that's
Heath,
where all the
so-
electric is on the
Oh,
south
no,
side.
there's
I mean,
electric on the
to
other
me,
side.
if you want to put more streetlights, then you're going to promote more people walking, and I think they don't want people to be
Well,
walking
I mean,
down that road.
there's-
So what's the? I mean, I don't understand myself. Is what do they want more lights for?
being able to
I wanna see
better.
people when I go down there, the people that are on bicycles. There's people that, Bob, there's people that are on bicycles who have to be on a bicycle because they don't have a driver's license.
If they cut
And
through,
that's-
if they would cut through Greenbrier, and go up the hill in the River Oaks and ride in the River Oaks and come out River Oaks, get on the bike path, they wouldn't have to go down there.
Yeah.
told me, I
tell him about it.
Yeah.
That's true too. That's true too.
Or you build a bike
You know what?
path.
I mean,
but-
we have. I know that there are. I know that there are streetlights on.
That road is narrow.
Why did
So
I
where are they
just
gonna
draw a
ride?
blank?
Where are they gonna ride their bike at?
No, the road
Where
that
they're
goes up
riding
to
them down.
my addition. Why did I just draw a
Willow
blank?
Ridge Drive.
No. Coming up the hill.
Yeah.
No. Blue Jay. Thank you very much. Okay, I know that there are streetlights on Blue Jay,
There's street lights on Irvingwood.
but not where we're talking.
I think there's street lights all the way up and down
There's
Irvingwood
some
Drive.
lights there.
There's
There
lights
are
all the
some
way up
lights
and
there,
down Irvingwood Drive.
but not very many. I think there's only like 3.
I can go
I think
down and
there's
count them again,
3.
make sure they're all working. Maybe some of them aren't working.
Okay.
I'm just telling you what happened the last time. That was what was told to me. That people were working by their house, they were worried about their safety. Wasn't worried about them being out there or anything. It was about their safety and who was walking by their house. That's what I was told.
You remember when I had a petition about 3 or 4 years ago? There was like 20 signatures on it. And we got it down, they were agreeable to just a couple street lights really would have enhanced it enough that it would make everybody.
Well,
by
can you
large
remember why
happy.
we didn't do it then?
The money, the cost.
Okay.
It was the cost.
I don't know if I have any records on that or not.
It may very well
Just
be.
wanted to know.
Yeah.
I got a number of $10,000 a light. Pole, insulation, everything. It was like 10 grand a light. And it was just like, it was not a high priority. In even a lesser budget situation that we got right now. In 08, I'm guessing, 08, 09.
Well, that's the story I remember from the last time.
I mean, if you want, we can contact Energy Co-op and go down that road of trying to get a
I
per
just-
light cost or whatever.
I just know when we talked in another committee meeting, we said something about, we'd say something to Bobby. So,
We were discussing speed limit.
Yeah, so when we were
People
yeah,
wanting to,
35.
Yeah.
they were driving 45 or more on
Yeah,
this road.
yeah.
So what do you want to do?
I mean, what I can say is I don't think anybody has called me saying that they want them. I've not received the call.
Okay, so just don't do anything for.
Well, like I said, we can find out what the cost is, but
I was gonna say,
that's just a phone call.
if you're gonna make a phone call, find out what the cost like to install a light, and then how much it is per month for
The
maintenance,
electricity
for electricity
usage.
and all
Right.
that stuff.
Right.
And do it if you're gonna do it. Go ahead and do it for AEP also, in case you want to put some other place and just have a reference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just ballpark figure, and they have different poles, different style lights and everything. But
Yeah.
That way, we kinda don't know, cause right now we're guessing at figures and everything. And of course, based on location, how much wire they have to run, it could be more or less, you know, but just a ballpark.
Call the electric companies involved.
Do it again.
Let me ask you a question, do we have any
I
old
guess we do it every 3
inventory?
years. Right?
Hey, Bob,
Huh?
do we have any old inventory of old street lights that we've
Those street lights aren't ours.
discarded?
They're not ours.
They're
They
a
were
lot
long to
longer.
that.
We don't own any of the street
No.
lights in this city.
No.
They're all
Traffic
utility.
lights, not street lights.
Yeah, power companies have to maintain it.
Gotcha.
Is there anything else?
Yeah. We're talking about bad people. There are two guys over on my street, Glenn Griebel, he works at one of the local banks, and Joe Hall, he's retired. If you drive up and down Irvingwood there, you notice on both sides of the entrance, it's mowed perfect about all the time. Those two guys been doing that 10 years, I guess. So if you know them, just tell them thanks, you know, because it really makes them that look good there. They just
Would
enjoy
not be
doing
able
it.
to do that all the
Huh?
time. All the way up
Right here
there.
at Denver's Whispering Pines.
I got a street light related issue. If in a neighborhood there's a street light that's either out or it's not working right,
Like in my
Does the-
neighborhood in front of my house,
there you go.
okay?
Does the call need to go into the energy company to
Whatever's
have
on
them
the pole,
repaired?
could, whether if it's, well, before it was AEP and LRE. You know, I have a light in front of my house that's on 24 hours a day. Never shuts off. I've told Dave a million times, we have called a million times. 4 years, nothing. So when there is a light, we, you know, I mean, it used to be the police department used to drive around and eventually give us a list of the numbers that are on the pole. And then Dave would call and say, these lights are out on these poles, okay? And we would have the number, so if you take the number down, that's a good thing, and then I can give it to Dave. But there is no guarantee that it's gonna get done,
Okay.
because it hasn't been done in front of my house.
here's-
And they can't blame us for that, because AEP is the one, or whoever does it is the one that replaces it.
Here's what I want to do
My
now.
house.
Let's go through this exercise again.
Okay.
Give me the list. Let me contact my contacts at those companies and let it filter down from them to wherever it is that should be dealing with it. And I'll ask for updates on, you know, I'm in meetings and see these contacts that I deal with regularly, and I can stay on it. So
Is
let's
this
go
light
through that
in your
exercise.
neighborhood that you're
Well, there's
talking
some
about?
in my neighborhood. There's some that you, when you drive around, you see them that they're not on. You get, yeah, I mean, I'm speaking generally.
I mean, we don't see them because we're not working at dark. So that's
Except
why,
when you're
that's
spraying.
why, yeah, if we saw them, but if you're plowing snow, and stuff, you're not writing down numbers
No.
and stuff.
I didn't.
But the police department had always done it before, and then they
Okay.
would give us a list because they're out at night.
So let's go through that exercise.
Okay.
And let's get the list, and then give the list to me, and I'll contact Energy Co-op with theirs, and I'll contact AEP with theirs, and if it's not going to get done, somebody then can tell me why not.
Well, I'm sure in my place it's just a photo cell, but we just notice that sometimes they come over during the day.
Since John just walked in the door,
John.
he asked earlier about those legislative requests, whether timetable and stuff. So we
Yeah, the
ask John for, because I don't see what
legislative request. Is there any need to waive?
Eddie did.
The only ones that have to be waived are the ones with Granville for OPWC.
So those two, you took Granville on them?
Right, 5 and 6. The other ones, well, if you could do 4 as well, because that helps us with the OPWC grant. But 3 is okay, you don't have to waive 3. 3 can go to a second reading. But at 4, 5, and 6, that just helps us accelerate.
And that's off the finance committee agenda here, he's what he's referring to, so.
Oh, okay.
Just so you-
I was wondering what he was referring
Yeah.
to. Okay.
Okay, so when they're drawn up, then in 2 weeks, you're requesting that the second reading be waived.
Yes, wait.
John, while you're here, just give me real quick your opinion on those trees on Grandview and Linville.
We went out and looked at it too for Bob's request, and they are blocking the vision of cars heading in the direction of Newark, and they are in the right of way. And I don't think that trimming them is going to help, and I feel they should be removed.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Nope.
Then we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:26.
All right, we'll call Parks, Recreation, and Parks and Recreation and Davis Shade to order at 6:26. Go ahead.
Hopewell Bridge is open.
That was the detour signs down on 13.
Are they still up there?
Yeah, they're still.
Yeah, they were.
And they're on
Hey,
the-
you can't do everything at once, Doug.
Traffic down there. It's open. All right.
We can get through this pretty quick, I think. The pool was closed officially Sunday. I'll have a report for you next month. I was telling the mayor today, the utility bills, running a month or two behind, so we will give you a report on that in September. The pool was closed. It's kind of a fun day to open, but it's always kind of a relief to get it closed too, especially if everything worked out okay for the year. So we're officially closed now. The dog paddle was Sunday. I wasn't there. I know the mayor wasn't there. Deb was there.
It was great.
You how you want to report on that at all?
Awesome event. Wish more of you would have stopped by and checked it out. I know Deb left in her bare feet, so I know she had a good time.
She came in her bare feet.
Well,
You know, a picture in the paper on the website twice.
I know, I
It's like,
saw
how did
that.
I do that?
I saw that. Just a couple highlights. We had 320 paid dogs. So it's $3,200 just to get in the event. I'm still counting. I've got a big mess, but that's what I went through the numbers today. So that's what I know thus far. Great event. Everybody had a wonderful time. I don't really have any complaints. Everybody was wonderful over there. The only thing is somebody decided to take all the furniture and put it away, and nobody had any place to sit down. And we had invited Chapel Grove people over just for something to do. So we were a
Furniture being
little,
on the island.
The chairs around the, tables
benches,
there.
the chairs, all the furniture
Well,
had
they
been.
probably I'm not saying they did that because the dogs were. They were probably just starting to close up the place, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
I don't know. Were they there last year?
Yes,
Yeah.
they were. We had them last year, and I've got actually pictures of people sitting on them. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that
Well, just
Well,
request that they
people
leave
were-
them there next.
we
time.
were, of course, there getting things ready yesterday beforehand and putting our signs up in the fence. The people that were walking were a little upset because the furniture was missing. They were mad. They thought we took it out, and we had to wait for Doug to get back from church to ask, and then he wasn't real pep on having us do it, but we had all the dog warden people there, and they asked if we could take some benches out, we would put them back. So we put everything back when we were done.
Where were they?
On the other side of the snack bar area.
Oh, okay,
They
yeah.
were all underneath
Well,
there.
they're closed. I mean, they were starting to close the
Yeah.
place up.
Yeah.
Pretty much
But,
what they-
you
Yeah.
know, your
Probably
members
they
were a
moved.
little bit
I don't
upset
know
because
why.
they weren't there. So that's just a high note. I think we'll definitely make sure we ask to keep that
Yeah.
next year. So, but other than that, we walked the grounds with a couple of the lifeguards afterwards. The lifeguards were like, "This is the best way to finish the season." So, Dwayne walked around the yard, checked the yard for everything before we walked out in the trash. So we did everything that we were supposed to do. Talked to Rhonda and Ann before we left. So they were all good with it. The only thing is they announced this as the Humane Society, and I want to try to explain that. We are actually working with the animal shelter, which is where you pay for your dog tags. The Humane Society is a 501c3 nonprofit, privately funded. They do not do anything, they're not involved with our event, but they were there. So it was announced that it was for Licking County Humane Society, and we have to go ahead and tell them, no, it's for the Licking County Animal Shelter. We are two different things. I'll be so glad when they move over here, but anyway, turned out beautiful. I'm glad to have got to see it firsthand, so And there's plenty of pictures in the Advocate, so more coming.
What, so there were 320 dogs there this year?
320 paid dogs. We had 88 pre-registered. The rest walked in the door yesterday.
How many was that above last year?
We think we had 200 last year, so 120 more.
Plus, I know you had at least 2 people that didn't have a dog.
Right. I actually have a list of people. We had everyone sign in that actually walked in just to watch. Just as a release, we had everyone sign. And I haven't actually finished counting those yet, but we do
That
have a
was new
stack.
this year, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because I didn't do that last year, but it was a good idea because then we were signing releases.
Right, and you and your husband both did that. I saw those today. So, in fact, Charlie and his wife were there,
Yeah,
and their daughter was there. So I found those too, and they paid as extras. So, wonderful event. I'll give you more details next week when I get finalized on numbers. It's just we had to close down in the rain, so everything got wet and taken home, and we're still filtering it out. So, but good event.
Let's get that worked out. Number 3, we did discover that we had a door that was damaged during that storm at the pool. That wasn't included in our report to the insurance company. So we have turned that in, but it's one of our main doors, and it's a special made door, of course. They just don't go by, and it's specially made as we put in. So that's going to be an expensive item, but I think we have faxed that or given that info to Linda on that. So that's going to be another expense we found out. The insurance claim, we are working with that. We're getting the info. Linda, you know if Linda has sent any of that stuff in yet, or we're still waiting, or?
I don't know.
All right, we had to get, we asked for $20,000 to go to the pool fund from lost revenue, and they pay the net on that, so they'll look at what a normal day is for us, and then take away maybe our expenses, and then they'll pay us the net for those 2 days. It's really almost 2.5 days. So anything we can recover, that was right in the heart of us. I mean, we were bringing in 10 grand a day, and we were really rolling, and it kind of stalled us after that. It's just the way it goes, So hopefully we recoup some of that expense and get our umbrellas. We had to go last month without 4 umbrellas out there, and our shade shelter got blown away. So, the weather for the Shea House and all the things that have happened haven't been very good the last couple of years. And to fight through these storms hasn't been an easy thing. So we're working with them right now. So hopefully we can get that settled here pretty soon. We'll have everything ready to go for next year. We're still cleaning some storm debris. We're pretty much done, but boy, there was a lot. I think if you go by Mount Builders Park, we get calls, how come we haven't cleaned up Mount, the Great Circle Mountain yet? Well, because it's not in city parks. So we get calls on that. And, but they haven't. I heard the country club is in disarray too because all the trees. So it was a major storm. It takes a long time to clean all that stuff up.
I heard that with Mound Builders Park, they're waiting to see if there is a federal disaster declaration in the state. If there is, which, given the number, as far as the dollar amount of the damage and the fact that it's an election year, there probably will be a disaster declaration. With that declaration, it would make available funds that they would then be able to contract to have all those trees and such taken out. So they're waiting to see what the status of that is.
What about us who already had the damage and had it cleaned up and cleared out? Spent the $8,000 it cost me.
I think what we're talking about here is a historical park, not a private residence.
Okay.
So.
In public areas, because I know I attended a meeting a couple weeks ago that
John Fisher actually was the one that told me about this.
I'm one of the ones that attended the meeting. John didn't go, but we're looking at the possibility of applying for a national emergency grant for cleanup. And looking at waterways and those kinds of things where there's a lot of things that still need cleaned up, and trying to determine if there is enough of a need, whether Licking County is going to participate. And we've been in conversation with Jeff Walker to see what he feels would be the needs, because the good thing about it is that this time they're going to allow more things to be purchased with the dollars, purchasing the big equipment items, things that they wouldn't let us purchase in the last national emergency grant. So I think there's potential there that we could be bringing some dollars in and also bringing some work in for people, you know. So. And they thought that they would have a declaration by the end of the month, is what they told me at that meeting. So, yeah.
Couple weeks of the process.
You know, so we're working on the insurance thing on that, so hopefully we'll get a lot of that back. That'll help the final result on the pool. When we get that report, we probably won't know by then, but there's a possibility. I think that we might be able to add 10 or 15,000 on that. So that's all I have.
Other item. This has to deal with park security down at Hoback. I know we've talked, and Mary, you've talked about maybe looking at security cameras for maybe the street department, different things. You know, we've talked in other committees and stuff, and I don't know where that's at, but essentially, you know, the concession stand down there in some of the buildings at Hoback get broken into several times during the season. It seems like the kids know there's, you know, candy in there or whatever, or, you know, or they think there's money in there or whatever. So, you know, they'll break a door or window or something to get in to try to get it stuff. And I know the HSYA committee and stuff I went to their meeting last week, and they were thinking about maybe buying cameras and this kind of stuff to try to install down there. And I told them to hold up, because in my opinion, you know, it's a public park, and, you know, if we're gonna get cameras, maybe we gotta get cameras that would be compatible with, you know, the ones at the impound lot or whatever else we're gonna do. And maybe, you know, rather than them get some cameras that go somewhere who knows where, and what, you know, they would be better that if they're motion detected, whatever, it went to the police dispatch or something like that, so that someone could be dispatched over there and, you know, try to catch the person that's breaking in or whatever. So it's nothing that has to be done right away and stuff, but I'm thinking, you know, if we're looking at cameras for other pieces and parts of the city, you know, we talked about the pool in here, I mean, other things and stuff, that maybe we look at cameras for, you know, the park. They closed them gates, because remember before, people went in there and turfed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So they locked the big gates, but they still have to leave the little gates open so people still walk in there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, if we had some kind of motion sensitive kind of thing, that if someone goes through the gate, it kicks the cameras on, so at least we can see the person coming and going, and maybe that's enough time, if someone back here, that we can get a cruiser down there and catch the person, you know, coming out or something. You know?
That's something you're going to have to talk to the safety committee on, because I've heard that complaint from the dispatchers that if you go in there and say, some of these things I have no idea what they mean when they go off. I mean, we can't have a camera for every we can't have a TV to show every camera all over the place, you know. So
well, what their screen is their screen, I believe, is split up into different.
If it's connected to there with,
and
then you get so many things, and eventually you're going to have more TVs, and blah blah blah. But that's you want to bring that to the safety. You want to bring that to the safety committee,
right?
Because the dispatchers are the ones that have to monitor it, and I've heard complaints from them in the past. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that.
All right. Anything else?
Well, what do you want? I mean, what do you want us to do?
I guess I'm just starting the conversation, because I'm even thinking the main building, the hall you can rent there at Hoback and stuff, you know, it might be nice that, you know, and even with the water, I mean, the different facilities and stuff, you know, I mean, it's,
that's a commitment.
You know, so I'm thinking, you know, you don't want to just go buy one camera to do the consent, and then later on, oh, we need a camera here, and then next thing they don't, you know, it's incompatible, it doesn't make any sense, you know.
It's easier to identify everything that you would need if you're going to do it and do it.
Yeah, if we get a security consultant in or somebody.
Those cameras, the way they are now, I know at the pool and in our shop, you have to have a DVR with them on site in order to record what's being seen. Now, if it's something that goes strictly to the dispatchers, then I don't know. But I know we have a DVR at the pool and the park for that. I mean, you could put a DVR inside, you know, the building, you know, but we have to, you know, lock that up, and hopefully, you know, my rule hitting it with a ball bat 15 times, goes into effect.
What's their timeline on this? Are they looking to do this before the season starts next spring, or do they?
I don't know. They're doing fall ball. They're getting into fall ball here and stuff. And, they don't have.
They don't have an urgency.
I don't think so. I mean, I think they would just like to have some kind of deterrent there. I mean, so that if the kids know that it's on camera, maybe they wouldn't do it just for the simple fact that, they see someone's installing cameras up there, even if the camera didn't even do anything, it might be a deterrent. I mean, if you
My
assume
point is, we might have a different answer on November 7th than we have on November 5th.
Right. Yeah, I would say, I'm thinking down the road for before next spring, in that time frame or something like that. Because they have a lot more product and a lot more stuff in there because they're open every night, during it. Right now they're just be open on Saturdays for games through the fall.
We never had the pool broken into in the office, ever, in the history of the pool, and we got broken in twice last year. Nobody's ever disturbed the pool ever, but last year they did.
Yeah.
And just like we had a concession stand at Geller Park there, and we put in the metal doors and all that stuff. Well, heaven forbid they went in through the soffit. They cut a hole in the soffit and went in up through that way. So, we've been fighting
candy bars.
We've been fighting for years and years, and it's frustrating. I understand exactly how they feel because we've had to face it.
Well, they took ring pops and Slim Jims. But, the little ring things that got those are Slim Jims. That's what they took. Yeah. So if you see any kids running around with a whole bunch of that,
is there a black market for Slim Jims?
I don't know.
All right. So, but you're suggesting that.
I think that's worth consideration.
Yeah.
Just make sure that if they think it can be monitored in the dispatcher's room, then probably need to talk to the chief about that. Then we can go from there. So we have the contact with the person to look at it. And, he's done a wonderful job. We had no problem. We have had no problem with ours, none whatsoever. I did see Jay's towing got robbed, and they got a picture of the guy, but they still have to be able to identify him. So
that's what I was going to say. Let's be in monitored because we've got cameras in our parking lot at work, and I've had a window busted out of the car trying to steal golf clubs. I've had somebody write every place was white on my vehicle
it can be
marker.
It can be sent to the alarm company, and then they will call. Well, there might be a person they call right away, but they could call, and then that might be a quicker response. But someone would have to pay that bill that goes to the alarm company. And I don't know.
I don't know if
we have to determine who's paying what and all that stuff.
It's nice to get it taken care of because there's a lot of people who around there hey, they get products.
Anything else for Parks Recreation Day today? We can adjourn. Okay, we're adjourned at 6:44.
Do we need a break, or do we blow right into this? You want a 5-minute break?
This would be quick.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm quick.
You okay, Bud?
Good quick, then we'll take them.
You okay for good, quick? Okay. Finances in motion here. Number 1, appropriate from within the general fund $2,000 for police office supplies. Coming out of safety, that's largely ink cartridges as I read on here. Dr. Alexander, you have any other comments on that other than we're spending a whole lot of money on ink cartridges?
Ink cartridges.
Committee?
Okay.
Item 2, appropriate from within the general fund $1,000 to general administration office supplies. Comments? Anything on that? No? Item 3, ordinance naming the city of Newark as lead agency for the blighted property ordinance. Comments, committee? Authorize the mayor to apply for OPWC funding for Thornwood Drive, which needs a great second reading. Comments? This is kind of a rehash of what we covered in the street committee.
4, 5, and 6.
Well, it's 4,
Yeah,
5,
this isn't
and
for
6.
tonight.
So,
This will be for the next meeting.
Right.
Yeah, at the next meeting.
Or 2 weeks.
Tim, for your caucus, 4, 5, and 6, just a reminder on your committee. Anything else on that one? Fifth, ordinance naming the village of Granville as the lead to apply for OPWC funding to pave 30th Street. Any other comments that we already have covered in the streets department? Finally, ordinance in conjunction with number 5. If you support number 5, you're probably going to support number 6. Ordinance establishing a cooperative agreement for the application for Granville to be as the joint for the OPWC grant. Are okay with that? Water Alexander, any other comments?
Yep, I'm leaving. I won't be around for the council meeting this evening. I have family in from South Dakota and New Orleans that are departing tomorrow, so I'm gonna go hang out with them. I don't serve much function at a council meeting anyway. Key word is at the council meeting.
Anything else for finance committee? Anything else for finance? Okay, we're adjourned at 6:47.
Take a break and we'll
Thanks.
do caucus at 7.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
We'll do caucus at 7. Squeeze by. When we do the caucus, that